Chosen one, they don't hate you because you stumbled. They hate you because you never stayed down. The reality is clear. The anointed ones have endured the rumors, outdistanced the treachery, and outshone every snare set in the shadows. The stillness that surrounds you now, that isn't tranquility. That is the thick silence that falls when opponents understand they've been defeated, and the individual they attempted to shatter remains standing, more resilient, more keen, and completely unreachable. You never had to yell to claim your power. You secured it by weathering the hurricane. And that very endurance has transformed you into the force they can no longer overlook. Look at your surroundings. Can you sense it? The manner in which their volume drops when you step inside. The way their gaze shifts but will not hold yours. The manner in which discussions halt a moment too long. That is not accident. That is fear masquerading as nonchalance. That is jealousy attempting to wear the disguise of indifference. Psychology suggests that the qualities which provoke people the most are the very ones they privately desire. Your fortitude, your tenacity, your unwillingness to collapse, those are attributes they lack, and every memory of you pours salt into that injury. They believed you would be demolished under the burden of their chatter, their exclusion, their quiet manipulations. Instead, you transformed every wound into a shield. You moved through their plots and still ascended. And that is what injures them most profoundly. They didn't merely lose their influence over you. They lost the story, and nothing is more frightening to a foe than observing their intended victim become the author of the tale. Chosen one, stop for a second and return this energy. Click that like button and subscribe. Every single gesture amplifies this voice, this lesson, and this purpose we share. Thank you for aligning with me in this. Now let's go further, because this transcends mere recognition. It's about supremacy. You didn't accidentally find this strength. The cosmos etched it into your spirit through restless evenings, sorrow, deception, and the burden of being misread. And what occurs now? Those same tests that nearly finished you have become the very evidence that you are destined for the peak. You became the authority, not by speaking of it, but by enduring what would have destroyed others. Let me reaffirm something they will never confess. People analyze you in private. They mimic your language, your manner, your actions while feigning ignorance of you. They reload your profile, rewatch your posts, monitor your associations, all while asserting you are irrelevant. Why? Because fixation always conceals itself behind rejection. They could not halt your ascent. So now they remain in the corners observing, wishing for you to falter because they understand they cannot compete. Think back to your history. The instances they mocked you for aiming too high, the evenings they dismissed you, the days you arrived with nothing but your identity and your determination. Recall how insignificant they tried to make you feel. Contrast that with now. Observe the transformation. The identical individuals who once ignored you are the ones murmuring about you, seeking answers, attempting to decipher your method. That is the resolution the cosmos provides. The roles have reversed, not through vengeance, but through irrefutable outcomes. And here is the truth that wounds them most. You never required their validation. You never needed their consent. While they squandered years revolving in the same averageness, you were constructing, transforming, anticipating the perfect instant to appear. Now you stand here, the environment adjusting to you, the vibe transforming at your arrival. They won't say it aloud, but in their core they recognize you are in command now. Heavy is the crown, yet it sits perfectly when you were destined to bear it. And though it burdens you, it also drives you. Because every sob, every mark, every sleepless night was an installment on this moment. And now when they observe you, they don't just see accomplishment. They see a reflection showing what they can never become. That is what provokes them. That is what makes them uneasy. And that is why they will never cease discussing you, even when they pretend they have forgotten. So lean in, chosen one, because this narrative isn't over. It's only beginning. What we will reveal will not only clarify why your ascent disturbs them, but also uncover the deeper mentality behind your command. You changed the game without consent, and now they are struggling to comprehend the rules of a contest you have already won. So here is the instant of clarity. Are you truly prepared to see why your supremacy has them so agitated, so provoked, and so unsettled in their own being? If you've sensed the change, if you've observed the quiet, the attention and the resentment, then you already know this isn't chance. Leave a comment below with the number 777 if you are ready to accept what you have become. The one who reversed the roles. The one who made them doubt their position. The one who enters the space and establishes the mood without uttering a sound. And don't merely observe from the edges. Press that like button, subscribe, and stay linked, because this is not just a clip. It's a wave. Every step you take here reinforces the lesson and projects it back into the cosmos more powerfully than before. And now let's examine it point by point. Focus carefully, because if you truly are the Anointed One, you will feel every word resonate with you as if it were crafted only for you. You will see the designs, you will identify the signals, and by the conclusion, you will not just comprehend why they're provoked, you will fully claim it. Let's begin. Number 1. You enter, they yield without a sound. Regard isn't asked for, it is taken. And nothing disrupts a foe faster than understanding they are in the presence of someone who doesn't need to exert effort. The instant you enter a space, the mood shifts. They sense it before you even talk. It's not about your attire, your volume, or the applause you receive. It is the unwavering gravity of your essence, the command that flows from you automatically. That is why they are provoked. That is why they gossip, because your quiet delivers more force than their most intense shouts. They will never confess it aloud, but you reveal them without any attempt. Your energy doesn't just occupy a room, it reorders it. Suddenly, their false assurance begins to fracture. Their disguises fall. Their speech wavers. Why? Because you personify the very thing they pursue their entire lives, certainty. And here is the fact they cannot accept. You didn't purchase it, plead for it, or imitate it. You constructed it. Every injury, every betrayal, every moment you declined to submit carved this essence into you like rock. That is why they cannot reach it. Ask yourself this. Why do they always watch you from the edges of their vision? Why do they suddenly become silent, adjust their posture, or evade direct eye contact when you appear? It is because in their core, they acknowledge the order, and it is not to their benefit. People intuitively know when the leader enters. They may not wish to state it, but their forms reveal them. Command isn't declared, it is sensed, and your energy speaks the truth before your lips ever do. Here is the portion that truly pains them. Your strength doesn't originate from sound, it originates from calm. They rush around seeking endorsement, eager to be noticed, struggling to be affirmed by masses that are indifferent. Meanwhile, you remain motionless, centered, serene, and yet every gaze eventually finds you. That is the kind of command they will never grasp, because they think power is about who makes the most noise. You have demonstrated it's about who shifts the least, yet changes the most. Envision this. A lion doesn't need to declare it's a lion. Its simple existence sends every creature in the wilderness into a state of alarm. That is you, the chosen one, the hunter of ordinariness. The reminder to every fragile spirit that their imitated assurance disintegrates before genuine strength. And that precisely is why they loathe you. Not because you injured them, not because you spoke something harsh, but because your energy makes them face a reality they would prefer to hide. You are all they fake to be, but let's go further. Why is it so activating for them? It's straightforward. Your essence is a looking glass. It mirrors their self-doubts, their fear, their idleness, their lost time. They look at you and suddenly recall every justification they used, every chance they wasted, every moment they selected ease over bravery. Your energy doesn't just shout command, it reveals averageness, and people despise mirrors when they dislike what they see. Here is a tale you will know. Remember the times you were undervalued, the positions where they overlooked you, the groups where they mocked you, the connections where they questioned you. They believed you would remain insignificant. They believed you would keep saying sorry for being alive, but you didn't. You took every insult, every disregard, every indirect remark and forged it into metal. Now when you enter, they don't just see you. They see every error they made in underestimating you. That is what command feels like. It is payback without a single word spoken. Now, let's address what might already be in your thoughts. But if my energy is this powerful, why don't they just respect it? Because respect demands humility, and foes lack that. Foes suffocate on the idea that you are unreachable. They would rather convert their jealousy into talk than confess they look up to you. That is why their words are filled with poison. That is why they murmur about you in the dark. Because it is simpler to tarnish your name than admit your name holds more significance than theirs ever will. Command doesn't plead. Command doesn't justify. Command doesn't reduce itself so others feel larger. And that is exactly what you represent. That is why they are shaken. You are not conceited. You are sure. And sureness is scarce. Most people live life uncertain, waiting for permission, scared to make an error. But you glow with the assurance of someone who knows they've already endured harder things than these foes could ever attempt. That is what breaks them. Think of command like magnetism. You don't see it, you don't feel it, but you experience it every instant. Your energy works the same way. It attracts people even when they fight it. It forms the environment without request, and just like magnetism, it reminds everyone in the room of their position. The weak attempt to resist it, but they can't. That is why their amusement sounds fake. Their boldness seems hollow and their insults always fail. They are fighting a natural law, you, and here is the resolution you deserve to remember. This energy wasn't given to you. It's not fortune. It's not opportunity. It's not luck. It is the prize for standing when everything tried to break you. You are living evidence that command isn't about status or fans or wealth. It's about endurance. Every time you refused to stop, your energy expanded. Every time you ignored the noise and selected focus, it honed. Every time you converted hurt into advancement, it hardened. That is why it frightens them. Because they know they cannot fake what you have rightfully earned. So let them speak. Let them gossip. Let them scramble for importance. When the day ends, the room adjusts to you. You don't require their admission to confirm it. You already know your identity. You enter, and whether they confess it or not, they yield. If not in body, then in soul. That is supremacy. That is essence. That is the energy of the chosen one who has finally accepted the truth. You are the authority now, and they will never cease being activated by it. Number 2, respect doesn't request, it seizes. Respect doesn't await a summons. It enters, occupies the space, and challenges anyone to displace it. Here is the raw fact. Respect isn't something you seek with gentle requests. It is not a gift people distribute like aid. Authentic respect is taken, commanded, and imprinted into the atmosphere by how you present yourself. And the chosen ones understand this fact better than anyone. Your respect doesn't come from increasing your tone, displaying your successes, or pleading for recognition. It comes from the quiet but unquestionable confidence in your stride, your voice, your stillness. You don't have to seek respect. Your essence claims it. Consider it. Why do people focus when you talk? Even when your speech is plain, why do discussions stop when you arrive? It's not because you ordered attention. It's because you have built yourself into a person who doesn't need approval to be observed. Respect is attractive, and you have become the power it cannot reject. Assurance murmurs more loudly than pride ever yells. Picture this. A warrior enters a town after seasons of war. He doesn't boast. He doesn't lift his tool. He doesn't even talk. Yet every resident turns their head, not from interest but from awareness. They understand what he has survived. They feel the weight of his endurance. That is you. You've carried struggles nobody witnessed, and the respect you command now is the echo of your triumphs. Foes don't see the specifics, they just see the energy. And that energy informs them without doubt that you've already won conflicts they couldn't survive the initial night of. But let's examine this further. Because you may be wondering, why does this respect I hold provoke people so intensely? The answer is simple. They are dependent on pleading. Most people only recognize respect through endorsement. They struggle for applause, for likes, for followers, for someone to finally state, "Well done." They think validation is evidence of value. Meanwhile, you decided long ago that you are sufficient without it. And that choice, the refusal to plead, cuts them more deeply than any weapon. When you stop pursuing a claim, you become the act everyone cannot stop watching. Imagine this. 2 vocalists stand on a platform. One is yelling for the audience's approval, desperate to be heard, straining under the weight of their own need. The other stands calm, allows the quiet to settle, and delivers one tone so piercing it vibrates the room. Who do people respect more? Not the one battling for it, but the one who already owns it. That is you. The chosen ones don't require the sound. They carry their own platform, their own focus, and their own power. Respect moves toward you like streams toward the ocean because you have constructed a gravity around yourself. And that is why they are angered. They cannot decipher how you achieve it. They misunderstand your quiet for fragility. But it is the opposite. You don't speak to be heard. You speak because you have something valuable to say. And when you don't speak, your quiet still slices through the space like a blade. That is what terrifies them. Your quiet is louder than their sound, and they will never excuse you for it. Let's get personal. Recall those instances in your history when you had to demonstrate your value repeatedly, and still they questioned you. Recall when they disrespected you because you didn't conform to their shape, didn't yield to their regulations, didn't chase their fragments of endorsement. Look where you are now. You don't just possess respect. You have become respect. You don't chase it, you embody it. And the irony, the identical people who once ridiculed you now silence themselves in your presence. That is not just development, that is supremacy. But here is the question you might still be facing. If respect arrives naturally now, why can't they just embrace it and continue? The answer, because it reveals their defeat. Every bit of respect you hold reminds them of the years they lost pursuing applause instead of building themselves. It's not just about you, it's about what you symbolize. You remind them that genuine strength doesn't ask, it takes. And that fact is intolerable for people who have spent their lives pleading. Imagine this, a throne in the center of a filled room. Dozens fight, scratch, and scream to sit on it. Yet you don't even stir. And somehow the throne moves toward you. That is respect. You don't fight for the seat. The seat finds you. Respect doesn't come inexpensive. It isn't given to you like a treat. It is molded in fire. Every test, every sorrow, every betrayal where you could have shattered but didn't. Those were the blocks that constructed your throne. So when you enter now and people detect your power, it's not luck, it's not chance, it's blood, effort, and marks converted into strength. And that frightens them because it is a value they cannot fake. Respect isn't gained by sound, it's gained by survival. This is why you don't clarify yourself anymore. Why would you? Clarifying is for those still attempting to prove. You are beyond that phase. You've already proven it through your outcomes, through your essence, through the undeniable change in how the room adjusts when you enter. You have surpassed explanation, and that is why they cannot tolerate you. You exist at a stage where words are not needed, and they are trapped at the stage where pleading is their only instrument. So let them talk. Let them pretend they don't observe you. Let them murmur and scheme and glance away, because underneath it all, they already yielded the moment you came into the room. Respect isn't requested. Respect isn't pleaded. Respect isn't even declared. Respect is a power, and chosen one, you have become that power. And that is why they are provoked. Because in a world full of fakers pleading for applause, you are the truth that silences the room. You are the authority now, and respect has no option but to follow you. Number 3, you aren't contending. You are the model they pursue. The instant you stop contending, you become the judge of the contest. And nothing frightens them more than realizing the endpoint is a person, not an objective. Chosen one, here is what shakes them to their foundation. You don't participate in their minor rivalry games. You don't scramble for acknowledgement or plead for a place in their lineup. Why? Because you aren't in the race. You are the race. You became the measure, the standard, the design they all imitate from, even while pretending they are unique. And that is precisely why they cannot stand you. Think about it. Why are they so fixated on your every action? Why do they examine your manner, copy your language, imitate your decisions, then contort their expressions like they never saw you? Because in their core, they understand you set the pace, you built the path, and once you created your own way, you lifted yourself beyond their grasp. You aren't running with them. You are the finish line they will never reach. Imitation is envy concealed, and you have become their quiet instructor. Picture this. A room full of learners scrambling to get the solution correct, writing, competing, straining under the strain. And then there's you, the one they all glance at because you've already solved it. That is how they treat you. You don't chase validation, you personify it. You don't need to prove you are leading. Their anxious eyes prove it for you. But let's address the thought circulating your mind. If I am the standard, why do they act like I am irrelevant? Because confessing it would destroy their ego. They would rather reject you openly while secretly patterning themselves after you. That is why their vibe feels so divided, half rejection, half fixation. And here is the climax. They cannot revise the design when the design is living, breathing, and unreachable. You didn't just build a throne, You built it to endure. They can attempt to copy your materials, but they will never touch your base. And that is why they are agitated. Because you have proven the only genuine competition was the previous version of yourself. And you have already buried that one. So, let them scramble. Let them mimic. Let them exhaust themselves pursuing phantoms. When the day ends, chosen one, you don't compete. You command. Number 4, your quiet cuts more deeply than their shouts. Quiet is the keenest weapon. It slices clean, leaves no mark, and still makes them hurt inside. Chosen one, this is where the adversary loses their hold. They anticipate you to yell, to debate, to prove your value with noise, but you don't. You remain peaceful, collected, unaffected, and that rattles them more than any language could. Your quiet doesn't indicate fragility. It indicates sureness. And nothing disturbs insecure people more than encountering someone who doesn't need to explain themselves. Consider it. Why do they bend forward when you are silent? Why do they examine your face, overthink your every pause, and question what you are thinking? Because your quiet compels them to face their own turmoil. You have turned serenity into a tool, a mirror that reflects their insecurity back to them. They despise it because they cannot control it. Assurance that doesn't speak still overwhelms every falsehood in the room. Imagine this. 2 rulers stand in the same chamber. One shouts commands, stomps his feet and demands focus. The other sits motionless, observing quietly, his presence demanding more loyalty than the yell ever could. Who do the people follow? The one who doesn't need to shout. That is you. Your serene assurance makes their noise appear desperate. And here is the question you might be asking yourself. Why does my quiet frighten them so much? Because quiet creates space for their imagination. And their imagination is their worst foe. They begin filling the voids, questioning what you know, what you are preparing, what strength you are withholding. They cannot predict you, and unpredictability terrifies people who live by control. The calm one is always the most hazardous one in the room, so let them rant, let them scream, let them waste air attempting to prove their value. Your quiet has already won. You don't argue with averageness. You let it reveal itself. And every time you stay silent, they feel smaller, weaker, and more revealed. Chosen one, never forget your quiet isn't vacant. It is loaded. And that is why it wounds them more deeply than any word ever could. Number 5, your triumphs reveal the fractures in their spirit. Every time you rise, their justifications fall apart. Your success isn't an assault. It's a mirror, and they hate what it shows them. Chosen one, here is the brutal fact. Your victories pain them, not because you have done anything incorrect, but because every accomplishment of yours is a reflection of everything they have failed to do. You don't attempt to emphasize it. You don't flaunt it in their sight. Yet still your illumination emphasizes their shadows. Every step ahead you take reminds them of how long they have been standing still. Secure people applaud when others win because they don't feel threatened. But insecure people, they convert your growth into a personal offense. When you climb, they don't see it as proof that greatness is achievable. They see it as proof they have wasted their own opportunities. That is why they cannot applaud. That is why their grins feel forced. That is why behind sealed doors, their praise transforms into jealousy. Your victories are evidence of what they could have been if only they weren't so scared. Picture this. 2 competitors train in the same facility. One gives everything, sweat, pain, sacrifice, and wins the prize. The other misses sessions, blames situations, and never gets better. When the winner is honored, does the loser celebrate? No. He pouts because the prize isn't just an award. It's a reminder of his own idleness. That is exactly what occurs when you succeed. And you might ask yourself, why can't they just let me shine without bitterness? Because it is simpler for them to resent you than to face their own inertia. Your success forces them to confront the uncomfortable truth that nothing held them back but themselves. Envy is the inexpensive disguise they wear to avoid responsibility. Your greatness doesn't insult them. Their averageness does. So stop carrying shame for being great. Stop reducing yourself so delicate people can feel secure. Your successes are proof of your endurance, your effort, your survival. If they don't like the reflection, that is their issue, not yours. You are the authority now, and whether they applaud or not, your victories will continue to shake their world. Number 6, their fixation reveals their denial. They don't applaud for you openly, but they never miss a chapter of your life privately. Chosen one, listen to what they will never confess. They are addicted to you. They act uninterested, roll their eyes, pretend your presence means nothing. But the truth is in their habits. They watch your every move like a show. They cannot stop consuming. They reload your updates, scrutinize your choices, and talk about you when you aren't even in the space. They will critique you to others. Yet behind closed doors, they examine you like a manual. Their denial cannot conceal their fixation. Think about it. Why do they always coincidentally know what you are doing? Why do they act surprised at your progress yet react immediately when you win? Because they are tuned in. They cannot look away no matter how hard they try. You have become their quiet habit, the standard they cannot meet, the reminder of everything they could be if they stopped making excuses. Fixation is envy, wearing a mask of indifference. Imagine this. Someone vows they dislike a tune, but it's the one they keep replaying in their headphones when nobody is around. That is how they treat you. Out loud, they criticize. In private, they replay. You have become the soundtrack they cannot erase. And maybe you wonder, why would they spend so much time watching someone they claim to dislike? Because your life represents what they crave but refuse to pursue. You are living proof that justifications are chains and you broke yours. Every move you make is a reminder that they have imprisoned themselves. Watching you is simpler than changing themselves. They don't admire you in silence because they respect you. They admire you in silence because you expose them, so let them watch. Let them gossip. Let them scrutinize. Their fixation isn't your load. It's their admission. They cannot look away because you have become the mirror they cannot break, the evidence they cannot delete, the boss they never desired but cannot stop yielding to. Number 7. Your development haunts their inertia. They fear you not for who you are today, but for who you will become tomorrow. Chosen one. Success alone doesn't scare them. It's your transformation that keeps them awake at night. You aren't just winning, you are changing. While they are occupied polishing the same old version of themselves, you have already shed layers, broken boundaries, and rewritten the guidelines. That is what terrifies them most. You don't remain the same long enough for them to catch up. Think about it. By the time they have copied your last action, you are already 10 steps ahead. They are playing yesterday's game while you are creating tomorrow's. And the more you change, the more their own inertia glares back at them. Your development isn't just advancement, it's revelation. It shows them everything they could be if only they weren't afraid to change. Inertia worships comfort. Transformation thrives in discomfort. Imagine this. 2 trees planted close together. One stays small, roots knotted, leaves dull, too afraid to grow beyond its safe patch of earth. The other breaks through, branches reaching higher every season, leaves brighter, roots deeper. Which one demands respect? The one that dares to keep transforming. That is you. Your change makes their stillness appear like failure. And maybe you've asked yourself, why don't they just concentrate on their own development instead of fearing mine? Because transformation demands pain, discipline, and sacrifice, things they avoid at all costs. Watching you change reminds them that they have selected comfort over courage, excuses over effort, and that fact burns. Growth is a moving goal, and you have become impossible to pin down. So let them pursue phantoms. Let them copy outdated versions of you. Every time you level up, you leave them stranded in the past, still trying to solve the design you have already outgrown. Your transformation is their nightmare because it forces them to see that while they stay stuck, you are building an empire they will never touch. That is the real reason they are provoked. Not because you have succeeded, but because you refuse to stop. Number 8. Your actions strike like pure truth. Nothing offends a deceiver more than someone living proof of the truth they've been escaping. Chosen one, your deeds sting because they don't come coated in sweetness. You don't dilute yourself. You don't conceal your ambition, and you don't shrink to keep others at ease. Every move you make is raw, direct, and unquestionable. And here is the part that burns them. Your actions reveal what their words cannot hide. The only thing holding them back is themselves. Consider it. Why do they stiffen when you win? Why do they glance away when you take bold steps forward? It's not the deed itself. It's what the deed forces them to see. Every time you rise, they are faced with their excuses. Every time you execute, they are reminded of the plans they discussed but never pursued. You don't just succeed, you reveal them. Justifications collapse in the presence of action. Imagine this. Two people stand at the base of a mountain. One talks endlessly about climbing, how dangerous it is, how heavy the load feels, how someday they'll reach the top. The other quietly fastens on boots and starts walking. By the time the talker finishes explaining, the climber is halfway up the peak. That is you. Your actions cut through the sound like a blade, leaving them choking on their own justifications. And maybe you wonder, why does my ambition bother them so much? Because ambition without apology is rare. Most people dilute their drive so they don't make others uncomfortable. But you don't ask for permission. You don't soften the edges. And that is why they resent you. Because your direct progress shows them the life they could have had if they weren't so busy hiding behind fear. Your moves are reminders, and reminders sting the idlest the most. So don't dim your ambition. Don't sand down your sharp edges. Your boldness isn't cruelty. It's honesty in motion. Let your actions keep cutting through the lies, exposing the slackers, and silencing the fakers. Because every step you take is a truth they cannot deny, no matter how loudly they try to cover it. Number 9. You move like a shadow. You strike like a weapon. Power that announces itself can be avoided. Power that moves in quiet leaves no survivors. Chosen one, this is what breaks them most. You don't broadcast your plans. You execute them. While they waste time displaying half-formed ideas, you stay silent, build in the dark, and strike only when it's complete. By the time they notice, the impact is done, and you're already 3 steps ahead. That's why your supremacy feels unreachable. Think about it. Why do they always seem shocked when you level up? Because they never see it coming. You don't drop hints. You don't seek validation. You don't parade around with empty promises. You vanish into quiet, sharpen your tools, then return with outcomes so sharp they cut through every doubt. That's what makes them fear you. You're unpredictable. Sound is a distraction. Quiet is strategy. Imagine this. 2 fighters prepare for combat. One hits drums, yells threats, and waves his weapon to scare the crowd. The other waits in quiet, eyes steady, movements concealed. When the strike finally comes, it's fast, clean, and unstoppable. Which one wins? Always the silent one. That's you. They waste time announcing while you waste nothing. And maybe you ask, why does my quiet supremacy provoke them so badly? Because it removes their chance to interfere. In quiet, you deny them access to your process. They can't sabotage what they don't see. They can't compete with what they don't know. Your quiet protects your accuracy, and your accuracy makes every move look effortless. Predictable foes are safe. Unpredictable ones are feared. That's why they call you mysterious, hard to read, impossible to decipher. What they don't realize is it's not mystery, it's discipline. You've mastered the art of moving when it's time, not when it's noticed. And that discipline makes you lethal in ways they'll never understand. So keep moving in quiet. Keep striking with accuracy. Let them guess. Let them gossip. Let them underestimate. Because when you finally make your move, the room shifts, the air tightens, and the truth hits them all at once. You were the authority the entire time. Number 10. Your liberty shatters their restraints. Control only works on the predictable. The moment you refuse their rules, you become their worst nightmare. Chosen one. Here's the core reason they're provoked. You can't be controlled. They thrive on predictability, on pulling strings and watching people dance like puppets. But you cut the strings. You don't play their games, follow their scripts, or bow to their fake authority. And that makes you dangerous because a free mind is the one thing manipulators can't conquer. Think about it. Why do they call you difficult, rebellious, or hard to deal with? Because you don't bend to their system. You don't let guilt trap you. You don't let flattery buy you. And you don't let threats cage you. Your unpredictability keeps them off balance. They can't predict your next move, and that strips them of the illusion of power they hide behind. Uncontrollable people are always labeled the villain until history proves they were the leaders. Imagine this. A chess master expects every piece to move as planned. Pawns forward, knights in patterns, bishops predictable. But then one piece moves in a way he's never seen before. Suddenly the entire board collapses. That's you. You broke the script. And in doing so, you broke their control. And maybe you wonder, why can't they just accept that I move differently? Because control is their currency. Without it, they feel powerless. And every time you step out of their box, you remind them that their manipulation only works on the weak. That's why they resent you. Not because you're disobedient, but because your liberty exposes their fraud. They can't cage what was born to fly, and that reality drives them insane. So, Let them scheme. Let them label you. Let them twist your name into something it isn't. None of it matters because the truth stands tall. You can't be controlled. And that truth rattles them more than anything else because deep down they know you're the authority now and they'll never hold the leash. Number 11. You transform effort into strategy. They just burn out. Hard work without direction is just exhaustion dressed as effort. Chosen one, this is another truth that provokes them. You've proven that endless grinding isn't the same as mastery. They may brag about their long hours, their late nights, their constant hustle, but when the dust settles, they're still stuck in the same place. You, on the other hand, move with precision. You don't waste energy trying to look busy. You use your energy to move the needle. That difference is what makes you unstoppable. Think about it. Why do they sneer when you succeed faster than them? Why do they whisper about shortcuts as if your wins are somehow less earned? Because deep down they know it's not shortcuts, it's strategy. While they exhaust themselves chasing approval and grinding blindly, you conserve your power for moves that actually matter. Efficiency is intelligence in motion. Grinding without strategy is slavery to routine. Imagine this. Two builders are told to cut down a forest. One swings his axe non-stop, sweating, panting, proud of his relentless effort. The other takes time to sharpen his blade before the first swing. By the end of the day, who has felled more trees? Not the one who swung the most, but the one who struck with precision. That's you. And maybe you've wondered, why does my strategic approach make them so bitter? Because it shatters their illusion that suffering equals success. They've tied their worth to struggle. So when you achieve more with less chaos, you expose their wasted effort. Your results prove that focus beats frenzy every time, and that burns them. The one who plans 3 steps ahead will always outlast the one who runs in circles. So let them boast about how hard they work. Let them drown in their own noise. You'll keep moving in silence, conserving energy and striking with accuracy. Because you don't just work hard, you work smart. And that's why you'll always be ahead, leaving them exhausted, bitter, and wondering why the boss never seems tired. Number 12. Your self-sufficiency is the fortress they can't penetrate. The one who stands alone stands tallest because no one else can pull them down. Chosen one, here's the weapon that cuts deepest, your independence. You didn't beg for shortcuts, you didn't wait for handouts, and you never sold your soul for validation. You built yourself from the ground up, brick by brick, mistake by mistake, win by win. And that kind of self-sufficiency terrifies them. Why? Because it exposes just how dependent they really are. Think about it. Why do they cling to groups, to approval, to borrowed confidence from the crowd? Because they can't breathe on their own. Meanwhile, you've learned to thrive in solitude. You don't need their applause to move. You don't need their approval to shine. And you don't need their network to stand tall. That makes you unreachable. Independence is the purest power because it can't be manipulated, bought, or broken. Imagine this. 2 towers rise in the same city. One leans against the others for support, fragile if even one falls away. The other stands on its own foundation, unshaken by what happens around it. Which one survives the storm? Always the one built to stand alone. That's you. Your independence makes every attack bounce off walls they can't climb. And maybe you ask yourself, why does my independence bother them so much? Because it strips away their favorite weapon, control. People can only manipulate those who depend on them. You've removed that power. They can't guilt you, can't flatter you, can't threaten to take something away because everything you've built belongs to you. That's why they're restless. The independent one is always the hardest to cage because freedom is their foundation. So let them whisper about how hard it must be to stand alone. Let them mock your solitude, your grind, your refusal to lean on them. Deep down, they know the truth. You are unshakable because you've built a life that doesn't crumble when people leave, and that makes you dangerous in a way they'll never match. You're unreachable not because you stand with many, but because you proved you can stand without anyone. Number 13. You convert their tempests into your fuel. Chaos doesn't break you, it forges you, and that truth destroys them. Chosen one. This is the power they can't comprehend. They throw tempests at you expecting to see you collapse. They spread confusion, build obstacles, and pray you'll lose your footing. But instead of shattering, you adapt. You don't just survive chaos, you thrive in it. Where they see disaster, you find clarity. Where they see failure, you see opportunity. And that's what terrifies them most. Storms sharpen you instead of stopping you. Think about it. Why do they panic when things get messy? because chaos strips away their masks. Without structure, they crumble. But you steady yourself, breathe, and let the storm expose what it needs to. While they're flailing, you're planning. While they're crying over problems, you're spotting the opening that turns everything in your favor. That's why no amount of sabotage works. You turn every hit into momentum. Adversity is a battlefield. They lose their weapons in fear. You sharpen yours in fire. Imagine this. 2 ships sail into the same storm. One has a captain screaming, panicked, unsure which way to steer. The other has a captain calm, eyes forward, reading the waves, letting the storm guide him to new shores. Which ship survives? Always the one with steady hands. That's you. And maybe you ask, why does my calmness in chaos provoke them so much? Because it removes their power. Their whole plan depends on your breakdown. When you don't crack, when you don't panic, when you use the very chaos they created to rise higher, it proves they never had control. The storm is their weapon, but it's your classroom. So let them send their confusion, their drama, their tempests. Every time you'll walk out sharper, stronger, clearer, and they'll be left speechless. Realizing what was meant to destroy you only built the authority they can never defeat, and that brings us full circle. Chosen one. Every storm you've endured, every enemy you've rattled, every silent win you've claimed, it all proves the same truth. You are the authority now, and nothing can strip that away. Their envy, their whispers, their chaos, it only feeds your rise. This is your moment to own it fully. If this message connected with you, press that like button, subscribe, and drop the number 777 in the comments to seal it. And don't keep this fire to yourself. Share it so every chosen one hears the call.